National spokesperson for social housing Tama Potaka was on Tapatahi last week, slamming what he calls all hui, no action on the government's plans for housing on the once contested land at Ihumātao. The 32-hectare block was the subject of protest by Māori for 4 years, saying it should be returned to mana whenua. In late 2020, the government bought the land from developer Fletcher's for just under $30 million with funding from the Land for Housing program, which works with iwi and developers to develop social housing. But the National Party says not a single house has been built. Māori Development Minister Willie Jackson, no Ngāti Maniapoto, Ngāti Porou, is with us now. Tēnā koe, Minister. Thank you for joining us.
Kia ora, Neil.
National's Tama Potaka has said 3 years on there's still no social housing for Māori, who we all know are in a housing crisis, and he said there's no housing at all. How do you respond to his comments, and where is the promised social housing for Māori?
Maybe Tama should go in and then tell the mana whenua, half of them who are his relations, how useless they all are then, Neil, because it's got nothing to do with us now. You either want to... I'm sort of overseeing the process, but we've given the process to mana whenua to work this out, Neil, and they make their decisions. So obviously Tama would go in and tell them make decisions now and do what the National Party wants done. Part of mana motuhake and by Māori for Māori is leaving Māori to work things out, and Tama needs to learn that we don't come in and throw the big stick around. They are an independent group. They've only been going a year now. It took a year and a half, sadly, for them to get together. So they've got 5 years, Neil, and there's some real tensions between each other. So I don't go in as the minister and say, I want houses built now like Tama would do and his National Party mate. I say, well, come on, can we, from the side, we're saying, look, how's it going? Well, it's tough. That's what, there's tensions there between the three groups, mana whenua groups. You've got Kingitanga in there, we've got 2 Crown representatives, and we've got 1 council observer. So, let's just get it right from the start, Tama Potaka. It's not the Crown rōpū. It's a rōpū whakahaere with mana whenua working this out, not the government, not the Crown. By Māori, for Māori means exactly that. They have to work things out, and things have been slow, Neil. It's not easy when people come together, and some people want housing and some people don't, and some people have been protesters and some people have been developers, and this is what our people have got in terms of experience, but they have every right to be able to be given time and space in terms of working things out, and that group's only been together less than a year. They got 5 years, Neil, so hopefully we're going to get a bit of progress.
Okay. Do you know whether members of SOL or Save Our Unique Landscape are in favour of any construction taking place on these sites set aside for Māori housing, especially after putia from the Social Housing Fund was received from the government to purchase this land?
Well, from again, this is for them to work out, but I think SOL's whakaaro is pretty well known, Neil, and that's why it's tough pulling this together, because on one side, you have some people who want kāinga for our kaumātuas, and you've got SOL, with respect to them, they want to, they don't want any houses, done. That was their history. I'm not sure with their up-to-date kōrero, but that's all part of this process. Can they come together in terms of a consensus and lay down a plan so that their whenua will benefit everyone? So their background, their history, their experience is well known to everyone. I don't think they've changed, less than 1 year into a process, but they got 5 years. So let's see if they can work it out.
Minister, we know that the Kingitanga was involved in brokering the end of the standoff at Ihumātao, but we've heard that there might be issues, and you've alluded to that, around deciding who sits on the rōpū whakahaere. Potaka alleges the government has already spent another $400,000 just trying to pull it together. Is this right?
Well, you've got to give some money to our people. Well, does Tama not, does he not want us to give them any money? Does he not want us to support them? So that's so will Tama Potaka not give any dollars to a rōpū whakahaere? So they come together. They got to have hui and whatnot over the next 5 years. So there will be dollars I have to look at it. 400, we probably have to fund it around that amount. I know I need to check the numbers, but
Okay.
it should be no surprise to anyone that the Crown support for the process will be a putia that we put forward so that meetings can happen, so that they can get on with their day-to-day stuff. So I don't know if that should cause any shock and horror amongst the Māori nation, Neil.
Now, you've said that they've got 5 years to put this together. Do you have a date at all? Have they let you know, informed you at all?
They started, the Rōpū actually came together July of 2022, I think it was, even though we announced the deal at the end of 2020. So this is how hard it was, Neil. It took a year and a half for them to actually agree to a process, and then finally the Rōpū Whakahaere came together in July of 2022 when we announced our representatives. So that's less than a year. So just put another 4 years on. It was always agreed that they had 5 years to work this out in terms of things. But look, I won't be, I'm not trying to be smart here, but this is not easy. This is not easy when you have groups with different ideas. You've got a Kainui with a history in terms of, building kaumātua housing and getting on with the business. You've got other groups within mana whenua who don't want any housing, so this is a tough job. But what I say is we should give our people some time and some respect to work this out, and that's what they've been doing. So, we're still only in the early part of this, but we're not going to try and intervene. We just want to give it some time and see if they can work things out in terms of what's good for the people, in terms of whenua, in terms of land. There's been some talk of them having wānanga with the local people so that they can get the community's input and investment in terms of a strategy going forward. It's not for the Crown to intervene and wave a big stick, Neil. That's not how it operates. But obviously that's how Tama Potaka and National will operate.
Māori Development Minister Willie Jackson, thank you so much for your time today. Ngā mihi kia koe.
Kia ora.